We're going to review circumference and area. So let's go ahead and talk about circumference and area. Circumference is the circumference of a circle is the distance around the circle, and it can be used with or found using two different formulas. You can either use C equals pi times diameter, or C equals 2 pi r, which r would be radius. And then pi, we can use 3 and 1400ths, 3.14, to abbreviate it. Of course, it's an irrational number. It goes on forever, so we can use 3.14. So let's go ahead and practice finding the circumference of these circles. So first of all, we have the formula. What is this right here that they gave us? Okay, right here, this is, if you look right here, this is our radius. So which formula should we use if we're going to have radius? We're going to use the C equals 2 pi r. So C equals 2 pi r. And then for our values, the plug-in values, we're going to write C equals 2 pi 6. So in terms of pi, that would be, what's 2 times 6? 12. So that would be C equals 12 pi. That's what it means when it says in terms of pi. Now to find the actual circumference, we're going to go ahead and plug in 3.14 for 12. So in our calculators, we can do 12 times 3.14. And when we do that, we're going to get 37 and 6800ths. So that's 37 and 6800ths. And this is inches as our unit, so we'll say inches. It's not square inches because it's just inches. Because again, circumference is around the circle, right? All right, let's look at the next example. Number 2, what is it that they gave us right here? What is that? That is the diameter. So what formula do you think we should use? We're going to use the formula with diameter. So we're going to do C equals pi times diameter. So that means we're going to do C equals pi times 14. So in terms of pi, we're going to put the coefficient first. So we would say 14 pi. So to find the circumference, I'm going to go ahead and plug in the 3 and 1400ths right there for pi. So I'm going to do, in my calculator, I'm going to go ahead and write 14 times 3.14, and I'm going to get 43 and 9600ths, and that's going to be centimeters, because that's what our unit is right there. All right, now to do number 3. We look, and right here, I notice that they are showing me that is the radius. So the formula I'm going to want to use is this one up here, the C equals 2 pi r. So I'm going to do C equals 2 pi r. And the plug-in values will be C equals 2, and then our pi, and then 3 and 5/10. So in terms of pi, that would be C equals 3 and 5/10 times 2 is 7. So that'd be 7 pi. And then how would I figure out what the circumference is? I'm going to go ahead and plug in 3.14 for that, and then multiply that by 7. So I'm going to type 7 times 3.14, and I'm going to get 21 and 9800ths meters. Okay, let's do these word problems now. Okay, it says that a Ferris wheel travels in a circular motion and measures 40 meters from the top car to the bottom car. So that means from here to here is 40 meters. Okay? And so what is the length of the radius? Well, the radius would be half of that. So what would the radius be? 20 meters. What would be the length of the diameter? Well, that would have to be 40 meters. So then it says a car travels one time around the Ferris wheel. How many meters did the car travel? So let's think about what's going on there. If the car is traveling one time around, it starts like up here and it goes all the way around. That's the circumference of the circle. So I'm looking for the circumference to know how many times it'll go around, like if it goes around, how far that was. That's what that's asking for. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and use, I can use C equals pi times diameter because I already have the diameter. So that means I'm going to do C equals 3.14 times 40. And if I do that, I'm going to get 125 and 6/10. So 125 and 6/10 meters. That's how far they'll travel going around from one to the other. Okay, this next one's a little bit trickier because it's actually asking us to go backwards. It says on another Ferris wheel, a car will travel 148 meters to go once around the wheel. What's the height from the top car to the bottom car? So that means to go around the whole time, it's this. So what that is telling us that my circumference is equal to 148 meters. So if I'm asking for the height from the top car to the bottom car, what is that talking about? That's talking about my diameter. So that means I'm looking for the diameter. So what I know is if C equals pi times diameter, well, what values can I plug in? I know what my C is. So my C is 148 equals pi, we're going to use 3.14, and then D. So, hey, what is that? That's an equation. You know how to solve the equation. So to solve that equation, I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 3 and 1400ths. And luckily, you get a calculator to do that. And if you put that in your calculator, you're going to get 32, and that cancels out, is equal to your diameter. So that means the height from the top car to the bottom car is 32 meters. Okay, now let's review our area. Okay, the area of a circle measures like the covering of a two-dimensional object. So the covering, I'm covering it up, okay? So we're gonna actually use the formula A equals pi r squared, where r squared is equal to r times r. That's not a decimal point, that's a multiplication dot. Okay, so let's do this. It says to find the area, use 3.14 for pi. So our formula, it tells us right here the radius, because remember, we have to have a radius for this one. So it tells us the radius is 3 inches. So my formula is going to be A equals 3.14 times 3 squared. Now I know, oh whoops, I was supposed to write A equals pi r squared there. Oops. Okay, I know that 3 squared is 9, but I still want to make sure that you know when you put it in your formula, in your calculator, that 3.14 times 3 squared, you need to make sure that you're not doing 3.14 times 3 enter squared, because only thing that's getting squared is that 3. So that really means right now I'm going to have A equals 3.14 times 9. I'll put that with parentheses. So I'll do that on my calculator. And I'm going to get 28 and 2600ths square inches. Okay, and so I'm going to do, notice this square inches, because I can actually look, and I'm not going to make you do this, but I could actually take this and count. Like, okay, well, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then there's part of one, and like I could count them all up, and I'm going to get 28.26 square inches. Okay, so this next one, again, my formula is A equals pi r squared. So that means if I'm plugging in my values, I'm going to do A equals 3.14 times, now stop, let's think about this. What is my radius? What is it showing you right here when it shows you this right here? That 10 is this thing all the way across. I don't want the whole thing across. I only want the radius. So what's the radius going to be? The radius is half of that. So the radius is only going to be 5. So that's going to be 5 squared. Okay, so when I'm doing this on my calculator, you can do it all at once. Okay, I can in the calculator either do 3.14 times 25, or I can do 3.14 times 5 squared. Again, it's just you have to make sure you don't push enter before you push the squared, because otherwise it's going to square the 3.14 times 5 instead of just the 5. So when I do that, I'm going to get that the area is equal to 78 5/10 centimeters squared, or square centimeters. That means there's 78.5 centimeters that are squares that would fit into that circle. Okay, let's look at this next one. Number 5. This one gives us our radius. And so the formula is A equals pi r squared. So that means I'm going to do A equals 3.14 times 6 squared, which I happen to know is 36. So you can just do 3.14 times 36 on your calculator. And that's going to get you what? 113 400 square meters. Okay, so the area of a circle can be given and require you to find other parts of the formula by solving the equation. For example, number 6, a circle has an area of 78 5/10 square inches. What's the radius of the circle? So we're not going to actually do this, but this is where you would just be plugging in with your formula, A equals pi r squared. You would be plugging in numbers to figure out your radius and solving the equation. But we're going to actually skip that one. But we're going to go to number 7 over here. A pizza has a diameter of 18 inches. If it's then cut into 8 equal pieces, about how many square inches is each slice of pizza? So square inches, I know I'm talking about area, right? So if I can just imagine real quick, my beautiful pizza. Okay, it has a diameter of 18. So that means this whole thing is 18. But if I'm talking about area, I need the radius, right? Because area equals pi r squared. So what's my radius? My radius is going to be 9. So to find my area, I'm going to say area equals pi times 9 squared, which what is 9 squared? 81. So I'm going to say A equals 3.14 times 81. And that means area is 254.34 square inches. Okay, now that doesn't actually answer my question, because my question says about how many square inches is in each slice. Well, if it's cut into 8 pieces, what should I do to figure out how much is in one slice? I'm going to divide it by 8, because that way I know what one slice is. So now I'm going to divide that by 8. So 254.34 divided by 8 is going to get you like 31.7925. So we're just going to round that, and we're going to say 31.8 square inches per slice. All right, that's all we're going to do for now. I think that's enough. And I hope you are understanding the circumference and area of a circle.